Hello everybody. Okay, I'll try that again. Hello everybody. Welcome to Friday's live stream. And as you can see, we're going to be painting a bit of Team Yankee today, and in particular a British chieftain. But I've also done a little bit of extra work to it. I've been playing around with a bit of green stuff lately. As some of you may know, when I've been doing my power armor, I'm working on the headlamp lens for it, so I've been green stuffing bits up for that. And yeah, so thought we'd do a bit of green stuff on a tank this time. And I'll show you what I've done. So I've split the tank into three subsections, three sub-assemblies. So the turret, the lower hull, and the upper hull. That's just to make sure everything's primed and base coated properly. Hello Tanya, hello Mark, hello Amanda, hello Recon. Yes, it's a tank. I'm getting to do a tank today. So what I've done is green stuff on all this stuff. Is my sound a bit low? Green stuffed all this stuff onto the barrel to represent what's going to become a camouflage net when it's finished. And what I've done to make it look a bit more believable is taken the back of my knife and drawn 3 or 4 lines in it to make it look like they've actually put some retaining straps in there. I've also green stuffed up a tarpaulin, which is sitting on top of one of the baskets, one of the stowage baskets, which has some stuff in it as well. Again, just using the back of my blade to put in some marks to make it look like there's a strap there. At this scale, it doesn't matter so much how much detail you put into it. It's a lovely model as it is, and it's one of my favourite post-war tanks because it makes the most unearthly noise I've ever heard. So we're going to get started, and we're going to get stuck straight into some priming. As usual, a lot of you will know I'm using Stynylrez airbrush primer. I'm first going to prime all the parts in black, and then we're going to do some pre-shade with some white. So let's have a look here. Make sure this is ready. Seems to be. And away we go. I actually suggested Warren to do some Team Yankee, and he actually said yeah, he was okay with that. I said that's great, there's a spare chieftain. There's a good start to the day there, putting some in it. No, it won't be pink, Amanda, because Lozzie isn't here to tell me otherwise. I keep meaning to actually borrow her Panther and bring it in. Right, that should be the lower hull more or less done. Yeah, call that done. Let's do the upper hull. Skoback, thank you for the follow, dude. Nice of you to join us. So I have a bit of narrative for this vehicle today. It's going to be painted in a colour scheme called Batis, or a colour scheme that's used in Batis, which is the British Army Training Grounds in Canada, or the British Army Training Unit Canada. And typically, they paint their vehicles in a sand yellow and a light green. So we're going to be replicating that. But because this is Team Yankee, we can actually, I can throw a bit of narrative at it and say, with the the size of the Russian invasion into the west and stuff like that, they've brought everything. So all the tanks that were over in Batis have been brought over and retrofitted to bring them up to current standards, current mobilization standards and stuff like that. So I'm going to have this tank painted in that scheme, but I'm going to pick out certain points to make it look like they've had to replace a few bits to bring it over, and those bits are going to be in like just the normal sort of military green. Now I'm wondering, do I actually have any chieftain green in here? I might, I'm not sure, but I can find something that's equivalent to it. Yeah, the racing, yeah. And I've wanted to paint a chieftain in the Batis colours for a while, since we had a site member called Blue Sun, who was a chieftain tanker back in the day. And he sent me through a lot of photographs of him on his tank during a lot of the training exercises. And it was such a kind gesture for him to send me the original photographs, like the originals, we're not talking copies here, that I thought, well, I'm going to have to paint a chieftain up in his scheme at some point, or at least representing one of the tanks that he trained on. So this is going to essentially be my little homage to that, as a bit of a thank you. I have a 35th scale one that I'm working on too at home. At some point it might be finished too. I like that narrative, Amanda. I think I prefer that. My original idea for this tank had been Berlin Brigade, but I wasn't confident enough that I'd actually get anywhere with it in 2 hours, because it's almost like a digital camouflage. I've actually ran out of primer. Huh. Doesn't happen very often. There we go. The 3 Germans walk into a BAR. I've also been a complete jerk and actually drilled the end of the gun barrel, just to preempt people that were like, "Why haven't you drilled the gun barrel?" Like, yeah, I know. All that talk from the Astral Knights vlog, you know, why didn't you do the gun barrels? And then I had to go back and do them anyway, so I was like, yeah, okay. We'll try and keep on top of the whole gun barrel situation from now on. So that is the black down. I need to wash the airbrush out, and while I'm doing that, it'll probably dry, and then I can put the white pre-shade down. At least that's the theory. No. I could take a little piece of wire and heat it up and maybe do the gun barrel, the machine gun barrel as well, and be like, no. That, even in my mind, that's a bit much at 1/100. Maybe I should have, just to surprise you with, yes, actually I didn't know. I really didn't. I don't intend to. Right, apparently I started this live stream without grabbing any sort of cloth to clean the inside of the cup of my airbrush out, so I'm just going to ruin another pair of jeans, which is fine. Yeah, I do agree. The Astrolights just... I was trying to do them quickly, and then I realized that I was leaving out a fairly major detail by trying to be quick with them. I was like, actually, no, gun barrels need to be drilled on them. So yes, the community was utterly right in chastising me over that. Right, that's clean enough. Let's get some white primer. Again, using Stynel Res, big bottle of the stuff. Shake thoroughly, keep chilled before serving. Right, this shouldn't need as much primer as the black did, so let's see if we can lower the pressure a bit. Ugh. Alright, let's see how this goes. So we're not going to be doing any pre-shading on the wheels, but we're going to do some on the back. Okay, I think that'll just do nicely for that. Let's get to the upper hull. And we'll just let it feather off to either side there because the hull does a bit of a curve there. I'm going to do a bit of pre-shading down the sides onto the bazooka plates. Because the the primer dries pretty quick, so I'm not worried about handling it too much because the paint is usually dry by the time you've put it down, or pretty soon after. Yeah, I've seen the Rogue Trader announcement. Not overly enthused for it. I'm more waiting for Titanicus, if it happens, when it happens. Alright, that's the upper hull. So let's marry the two. See if we got a decent, consistent finish there. I think we did. I think that looks alright. Cool. Right, onto the turret. This has got a very sort of organic sort of shape casting to it. Almost done with the turret. Okay. So there we have one pre-shaded chieftain. Looks okay. Quite like that. It's very sort of almost like a 3D render. When you do it right, it looks very much like a 3D render. So clean the airbrush out again, then we'll start on our base coat. Really could have done with a piece of cloth or something. Do I have anything around here other than my jacket? Some sponge might do the trick. Yeah, some sponge might do. No, Amanda. No pink spray. Maybe I should do like a separate stream, you know, Lozzie paints, and see how many variations of pink she can come up with. Right, next thing is we're doing the base coat, and the base coat is going to be Army Painter Desert Yellow, but it's going to be thinned down to not ruin the pre-shade. So I'm using Flow Improver through the airbrush as my thinning agent. Alright, let's see how this mix works. Because Desert Yellow from Army Painter is a bit heavy on the pigment, so it needs a bit more Flow Improver than that. I know Flow Improver is a drying retarding agent as well, so this will probably take a couple of thin coats and then we have to let it sit for a few to let it dry. Yeah, it's going to be nice and thin. Okay. Let's try it on the dark areas. Yeah, that'll do. I don't want it to be a solid color at all. Okay. It's going to look quite bright over the white areas, but I'm not too worried about that either. I want a nice bit of contrast. No, this is a Team Yankee Chieftain today we're working on. No, not yet, Tuffy. Okay, and then on to the turret. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, magic track. I know dragon magic track. Not very much magic about it at all. Yeah, I love pre-shading. Really love pre-shading. It just gives you a bit of extra depth and defines the shape of the thing a bit better. The trick is to remember that you did pre-shade, and anything you put over the top of it isn't too heavy that just obliterates it. Like, the problem I will have now is getting the camouflage down without making it look too crap. And the other problem will be repainting those bazooka plates back into a green, which may not be such a bad thing, but hey ho. Yeah, that's the technical term. Okay, it's not bad. So we now have a very yellow looking chieftain. I'll do a wee bit of the gun barrel because it will be visible. Actually, I shouldn't be painting it yellow at all. It would be all sort of a greeny canvas sort of colour. It's not cheating. Pre-shade's amazing. It can't. Yeah, I guess if you prime a model black, then highlight it with a white, and then just stick a base color on it. You've got something that's almost tabletop. I remember building a Dragon King Tiger a few years. Well, it took me 2 years to build it because I wasn't wasn't that enthused about it until I went to hospital and had to take a week off. I wasn't allowed to do anything, So I got a table that sat over my lap, and I was like, I am going to build this damn thing, whether it kills me or not. And I spent 2 days just on the tracks. And they weren't the magic tracks, it was just the stuff you had to slot together and glue. What was it, 86 or 87 links per side on a King Tiger? Oh yeah, hospital years ago, years and years ago. I think this was maybe 7 years ago. I'm alright now, more or less. Yeah, the occasional twitch. Oh, my life for a bit of paper towel. I see Irish Steve is now hosting us. Thank you very much, dude. If you're in the chat, do say hello. Yeah, pun intended. All my puns are intended. Hey, Steve. You doing well today? I suppose it's like late for you, isn't it? It's like almost, it's like nighttime. Or is it morning? It's either night or morning. All these strange countries that people live in. I guess I did just stab myself with the airbrush. Alright, see you later, Dave. Take care. It is nighttime with you, Steve. Cool. Weird places around the world. Right. On to camouflage, which is going to be the daunting part. Because we have to thin it to make sure it's right, but we can't make it too thin so that it starts to run everywhere. Then why have you not gone to bed, Steve, if you're absolutely wrecked? I don't know whether that's commitment or insanity, my friend. Here's my flow improver. There it is. So we need to make this a very thin mixture. Maybe he did. Maybe that was his whole thing. I'll show you how to weather a tank in 5 seconds. Viewer discretion is highly advised. Oh, dude, I would love to do some deathcore. I actually bought some while I was at uni, but I never made an army out of it. It was like a squad and a basilisk. I thoroughly enjoyed them, but yeah, I couldn't look at them after a while. I was like, no, this is not going to become an army for me. See what this is like over white. Okay, this is good. This is good. We're in a good spot right now. Where is the desert yellow? There it is. Watching it growing, I'm sting on camera, yeah. Oh yeah, they're not great to build. Well, do you know what you do, Steve? You need to buy a shipping container. Not hire, buy a shipping container. Build your hobby space into that shipping container and then ship the shipping container. That is my proven formula for an international painter. Build your hobby room into a shipping container and away you go. You can travel the world with that thing. And what about the shipping the shipping container? Yeah. Well, you could buy that too if you really needed to. Right, let's have a go at some camouflage, and we're using Army Painter's Army Green. It's kind of a light green. It's not a nice green. It's just a light green. No idea how I'm going to do the scheme, but hey ho. I'm going to lower the pressure on this. That's raising the pressure jump. That's the pressure off. Alright, let's try that. No direct routes between Korea and Ireland. Well, and you, my friend, are a little bit stuck. I wonder if I should change the bazooka plate colors or should I just leave them as is? Maybe just go with like a normal Badass Chieftain? Nah, let's stick to the narrative. Let's stick to our narrative because I quite liked it. There, and I think we'll take it. No, we'll take it back a bit. Okay. No, I've never looked at getting hobby tools from China. Okay. The tank with the horrendous engine? I think you mean the finest piece of weirdly British technology you've ever seen. Yes, with the not particularly good Leyland L60 multi-fuel engine, yeah. Not the best thing that Leyland has ever built. The tank would have been great if it didn't have that L60 in it. I think they later tried to put different engines in it, but they just didn't work anyway. I think there was even potentially hello new follower, I can't read your name unfortunately. I think there was plans to put the Perkins engine from what became Challenger 1 into it, but they realized that there was no point in upgrading the Chieftain when when was it the Saudis or the Jordanians cancelled their MBT project, which was Challenger 1. They were going to buy a load of export tanks. Challenger 1 was meant to be an export, and then the project got cancelled. I can't remember if there was a coup or something that happened in a country that was going to buy them, and then the British Army said that they would take it on as a replacement for Chieftain. But I mean, they should have. The British Army should have been looking at a replacement for Chieftain a lot sooner than they were. I mean, thank goodness we didn't take these things to well, in quantity we didn't take these things to the Gulf, because I don't think the engines would have handled that amount of sand anyway. So it wouldn't have been a particularly effective vehicle. Having said that, the Iranians had a good time with them. I don't know if they re-engined them or not. To be honest with you, the best tank with the worst engine is anything, in my opinion, is anything with the Maybach HL210 in it. That's including Tiger and Panther and whatnot. Anything with that particular V12, because that engine was garbage. It was just too small for what they were putting it into. It didn't make the tank bad. It just made getting the tank to where it could be effective a lot harder. I think by comparison, the Leyland L60 was a far better engine than the Maybach. At least the L60 didn't catch fire because of a poor exhaust. Alright, I think that's going to be enough camouflage. I'm kind of liking how that scheme looks at the minute. So yeah, we're going to wrap that up. I'm going to need to find some Chieftain green from somewhere. Do I have anything that's a bit more like it in my boxes? Excuse me a minute. I go and find some. See if I have any. I have a big box of paints in front of me, and I have no idea if any of them are going to be right. Or even remotely close. Nope. Nope. Just going to hear from me for the next 5 minutes. Nope. Nope. This one will do. It's going to be close enough. The main thing is that it's a different green from the camouflage on the vehicle. So we're switching it up to one of my favourite colours of all time. Vallejo model colour, retractive green. The tank is for Team Yankee. This is Flames of War's Cold War Gone Hot game. We've done a lot of cover. We did a boot camp on it in the past as well. We did a fair amount of coverage on it. Actually, I really enjoy it. So yeah, that's the face I pull every time I see a bottle of Vallejo model colour being used. It's like, yes, you have made the right choice. You may pass. You may be my friend. Fully operational, thank you for the follow. So let's take the upper hull off here. Yes, they are. But retractive is one of my favourites. Now this is probably going to be a little bit too much of a yellowy green. for a British Army vehicle at the time, but I want to do it in such a way that these bazooka plates look like they've been bolted on when the tank has arrived in theatre. So I'm going to maybe do it as brand new parts that have been put on, and maybe a couple of replacement parts too, so I might put some black camouflage on them on one or two panels, really to try and hammer home that narrative that this tank has been brought over from Canada to take part in World War III, and they've just not had time to repaint it, or they just don't care. I would imagine they just wouldn't care so much, especially in a moment of desperation. You just need tanks, it doesn't matter what colour they are. I mean, heck, even during the Northern Ireland Troubles, there were Saracens driving around here that still sported UN colours, and a couple that were even yellow, apparently, according to some people I've talked to from that time. I studied the Northern Ireland Troubles as my dissertation for university, so I got to hear all sorts of weird and wonderful stories. A very interesting time, I have to admit. And here we are 20 years later, still unable to talk about it that much, which is sad. Anyway, that got a bit dark all of a sudden. Oh yes, oh, you got asked that? Yeah, it's just a mini. Yeah. Narrative is what brings someone's eye to your army, and I think, Steve, you'll agree with that. Story time. I don't think I can really. I don't think I should go into too much history talk about Northern Ireland, because it's a very convoluted subject, and your information can be right or wrong depending on how people interpret your background. You know, this whole what side of the fence do you sit on? So I mean, people will judge your knowledge of it based on, or will put a bias on you even though you haven't expressed any, purely because of maybe where you live or what family you're from, that sort of thing. It's a very deep subject, and it's one that, if you want to be completely confused about, there's plenty of documentaries on YouTube following it. I think is it Force Under Fire is about the Royal Ulster Constabulary, basically our police, and what they had to go through in the late 80s, early 90s. My full dissertation topic was experiences of women in the Royal Ulster Constabulary between 1970 and 1980. It was an oral history project. I interviewed 5 ex-policewomen or ex-police officers about their times during that particular part of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And some of the stories were very, very close to home, because I was born in 1986, so I had family members in the security forces, and you know, there's some events that people were talking about, and I was like, I actually remember seeing that on TV, or hearing, you know, my family and my friends talking about it. You know, did you hear about this? And apparently this happened over there, and you're like, well, that's barely a stone's throw away from my hometown, that sort of thing. I was still in primary school when Coleraine got bombed in '94. Yeah, towards the end of 1994 it got bombed, I think. Yeah, this got it's not just a pretty face. I have a history degree under my belt. I mean, what I would say, if anyone's interested enough to look into the Northern Irish Troubles, ignore the movies. Ignore the movies that were made about it, because particularly the movies such as Bloody Sunday that has what's he called? Our local acting buddy, James Nesbitt. Ignore the movie with him in it because it's rubbish, and ignore a movie called 71 because it's even worse. It's 71 is a very one-sided movie, and James Nesbitt's Bloody Sunday movie isn't much better. It's also quite a one-sided movie. A lot of bias is played in it. So that's the sad thing about movies, particularly on this particular topic, that you can't over-dramatize something like that without getting the information wrong. And I know a lot of people are going to say this about World War II stuff as well, but the events were dramatic enough. The problem with studying the Troubles and looking at the Troubles in any sort of way and depicting it in any sort of way for entertainment value is that most of the people are still alive. And in this country, there is a lot of dissatisfaction about how things were handled. You'll see, you guys that live in the UK, that there's still a lot of investigations and stuff that go on. But it's not for me to comment on. I haven't studied it enough to really give my opinion, or my unbiased opinion, because I just don't think, unless you know it intimately, it's very hard to comment on with any degree of accuracy. Right. Political stuff aside, we shouldn't be talking about politics, to be honest. So there is the repainted bazooka plates. They may need another coat of that green. Maybe let them dry a couple of minutes and give them another coat of that green. And what I'm going to do, in fact, what I'm going to do right now is take a 5-minute break and let all this stuff settle down quite nicely. And when we come back, we'll be able to give those bazooka plates a very quick second coat. And I'll maybe give a couple of them a little bit of lining of black camouflage, make it look like it's been taken off another vehicle and bolted on. So, yeah, the facts can and should speak for themselves, absolutely. Anyway, guys, I will be back in 5 minutes. Yeah, that conversation got a bit deep. It got deep very quick. Anyway, I won't be long. See you soon. And I'm back, and still annoyed at 300, eh? Harry's game. I've not seen Harry's game. Right. Anywho, we'll give these bazooka plates another quick coat of this green, and then we can move on, and then we'll probably add some camouflage to a few of them, or a couple of them at least. This green isn't actually working out too bad for a base color. Ah, Lozzie is here. Hello, you. Right. Let's clean the brush off for that. Actually, let's paint the base of the camouflage net, and it's we're gonna go oak brown with that, because what I have in the office somewhere is a material which is a basing material by Foreground, which is all little ground up pieces of foam or sponge, and I found that if you coat that in PVA and you press it down onto the gun barrel, it actually looks more like a camouflage net. So that's the material I'll be putting over this once it's painted up. But the base color for the camo netting will be a brown. But we can do everything else to the tank and then add that last. Okay. Let's take the same color we used on the bazooka plate and paint the tarpaulin on the side of the turret as well, because canvas at the time is around a very similar color. In fact, let's mix it a bit. I have an olive grey here, which might add a bit of that more of a faded canvas color to it. So we mix that with some of the green, and then we can actually dry brush this neat onto the tarpaulin, which will give it a good faded look, possibly. In fact, that's almost the same color that it's practically the same color of the camouflage. No! Let's add a bit more retractive green then. Richen that color up a bit. That might do. Okay, that'll do for that. Let's take a darker green, or mix a darker green for the two jerry cans. No, actually, they're not going to be jerry cans. They're going to be water cans. In which case, they're going to be painted black. So let's find me a matte black. There's one there. And a nice small brush. Well, let's get those cans painted, those water cans. And probably the commander's machine gun as well. You're all very quiet today, and I say I've also hit 53 viewers, which is awesome. Alright, that'll do for that. Let's paint the machine gun as well, then we can dry brush it with a dark silver. Well, Beanie, are you working on anything today, or are you just chilling? Don't forget, guys, if you have any... Oh, there's a question. Why is the tank not pink? Funny, Manda was saying that as well. This tank is a chieftain. It's a British Army chieftain. Sort of Cold War period vehicle. Just before it was Cold War, just as Challenger 1 would have been entering service. So it was late. So where Team Yankee set in 1986 or 1985, is it? Chieftains were a little long in the tooth, so they were coming out of service. But the game hasn't given us Challenger 1 yet, I don't think. I'm not sure if they're going to either. What else needs to be black on this? The end of the gun barrel needs to be black. I have a Chiefy or a Chally, I'm not sure. I actually really like chieftains, so yeah, probably that. Anything else on my mind that needs to go black? The exhausts need to go black. Well, this chieftain's being painted just as a piece to put on live stream, but I might throw it into my own British army when I have it finished. I have 13 or 14 chieftains currently in my army, so maybe one that has been brought in from Canada as a replacement vehicle might be a nice touch. Again, adding narrative to the army as well as just this vehicle. Take another drink here. Isn't it Machiavellian, Beanie? I think that's how you say that. Machiavellian? I don't know. Right, we'll leave the tires for a later point because I want to get most of the upper details painted up. We're not going to paint the periscopes until after washes and weathering. They're going to be the last thing because I always like to keep them looking nice and clean. Machiavelli. Oh wait, no, I'm totally saying a different word. Malkavian? Yeah. Yeah, Malkavian, Lorner. That sounds about right. Machiavellian is something else entirely, I think. I've got a couple of aerial mounts I'd need to paint as well. And the rubber seal at the back of the gun barrel would be a good idea too. This is a pain. Can't reach it that well. And let's, just for completionist's sake, let's take a bit more of that color I've used for the tarpaulin. Actually, just add a bit more of the richer green to it. And we'll use that to paint what's visible of the thermal blanket on the barrel. So just back of here. Unmarshall, thank you for the follow. Good to see ya. Should we do up underneath the barrel as well? Get all of that in. Am I dropping frames a little bit? I might be. I think there's a fair amount of video uploading going on in the office today, so that might be causing it a bit. I'm trying to see, because I'm still doing 5 megs a second up here. Well, 6 megs a second up here, so it's not bad. Okay, we are almost ready to gloss varnish, because we're going to be gloss varnishing. I'm trying to think of what other details I need to catch before I do that. I really don't want to paint the tires at this stage, so I'm probably not going to. Oh yes, that's right, we were going to paint some camouflage on some of these bazooka plates to make it look like a replacement part, salvaged off another vehicle. So, do I have Necromancer Cloak? Because it's a very dark grey, and I don't want the camouflage to be black. Oh dear. Because if it's black, then it looks a bit too stark and a bit more unrealistic. Go figure. However, we'll need to mix some black in with it, because it's still too grey. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Sort of like a NATO black. So let's take that off again. So let's just hand paint some camouflage on. Have it end at that panel edge. So yeah, definitely trying to make this look like it's been taken over or taken off. Lozzie, that's a great question. There is method to the madness of camouflage. I've recently found out that British vehicles, like post-war British vehicles, always try to paint the splotches over the corners. And the reason they do that is that when you're looking at it from a distance, that dark splotch might confuse the eye to think that the vehicle's smaller than it actually is, thus making it harder to identify. There is actually a fair amount of method behind how camouflage is applied and what way it's done. But I think this is going to add a nice little bit of narrative to the vehicle, making it look like they've taken these bazooka plates off maybe a salvaged vehicle or one that broke down that's in long-term repair, and they've needed a set of bazooka plates for this one that's come in from Canada. And they went, yeah, sure, here's a pile that we've taken off other vehicles. Have at it. Yeah, the Germans did, but they were largely, it was more of a guide, so they had camouflage patterns that came out of the factory, and then they had ones that were put on in the field, and the ones in the field were either applied by the unit's engineering team, or by the individual crews. And when it was the individual crews, there was barely a tank that looked, two tanks that looked the same. Similar colors, but different, possibly different layouts. Yeah, Beanie, you're talking about the God, that digital stuff was weird. And I'm still not happy I'm still not happy with the MTP that everyone's using now, the British and the Americans, running that multicam stuff. I think it looks terrible. Not saying that it's not an effective scheme, I just think it looks terrible. So that's the bazooka plates, and I quite like how they're looking. It really gives an individual spin to the vehicle a bit. Right, is it time for a gloss varnish? What does John think? I think it is. So let's clean the airbrush out. Will I? Digital on 6mm. So what I do is I put the paint in my mouth, tickle my nose until I sneeze, and do that a few times with different colours. There's how you do digital at 6mm. It'd be a horrible way to paint. Better turn the pressure back up, just noticed. Tau suit a good digital though. If you're good at painting digital, then Tau is definitely the sci-fi army for you. Tank, 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 and tank. Yeah, Lozzie, you can back Amanda up on that statement. Although lately it's been T60, T60, armor, 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 panic, panic, panic. I've driven the poor girl crazy, Amanda. Oh yeah, Lozzie, that was Berlin Brigade. That was British Army in Berlin, and I was going to paint this tank in that, but no. I kind of decided I didn't have the confidence just yet to give that a go. Right, gloss varnish time. Let's put a little touch of flow improver into it. Don't even talk about Tau anymore now, Steve, because I've got Lozzie in here and she's gonna start yelling at me. Yeah, apparently Berlin pattern actually did work. It was a very interesting scheme. Right, should have the gloss varnish ready now. Damn it, Lozzie. See, Ogre, this is why I could never be a commission painter, because I would be disagreeing with all my clients. I'd just be like, no, 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 you don't want to paint it like that, you want to paint it like this. I'm just going to paint it like this, and you're going to be happy with it. It's like, trust me, you'll thank me for it later. this dry yet? Yeah, this is dry. Put it back on the hull. That comment. Lozzie, are you trying to get everyone ganging up on me again? Because it worked last time, apparently. Felt very bad for myself afterwards. That's a lie, I didn't at all. Okay, well we don't need to gloss varnish the gun barrel, so let's set that off now. Let's clean the airbrush out. Yeah, Lozzie has seen me talking about the Anzac biscuits a few times. I think I let you try one as well, Lozzie. Recon, I'm gonna get very annoyed at you. It's the nerve of some people. It's for his benefit to deny him sweet stuff. Yeah. Sure it is. I still have my hairdryer plugged in from yesterday. Sweet. I can try and push on with this a bit quicker then once I get some hair drying action going on. Yes, it is, Steve. Do you miss Lucozade? Do you not get it out there? Oh, man. Yes, I'm giving the tank a magnificent hairstyle. Giving it a shampoo and a blow dry, Amanda. Oh, hula hoops. Right, that's it. On the next live stream, I'm coming on with a whole bag of hula hoops. And I'm just going to sit there and eat them in front of you. Which flavour do you like the best? So I know which ones to buy. Classic ready salted. It's ready salted, isn't it? Right, great. Well, look at it this way, Steve. If you have to come up here to beat me with an entrenching tool, well, while you're, when you're taking a rest from that, we can stick you under camera and you can, you can do some filming work. Heck, you could maybe even do a live stream with us. How's that for an invitation? I came to beat John with a shovel, but I'm staying to do a live stream. Right, that is tacky as all hell at the minute because of the flow improver, which is great. Three and a half months time. Yeah, totally. You should totally come up here and do some stuff with us. Right. What do we do? Let's make a wash. Let's make a wash. So I used dark tone on my Signar guy yesterday, so I'm going to do the same principle again, but I'm going to use a strong tone instead. I want it to have a more of a browny sort of look to it. Plus, I want to use the dark tone to go in after that to darken all like the engine grills and stuff like that. Which one's an HK Gundam? Oh, Hello Kitty Gundam. I gave you a Zaku and you painted it pink. Was that not enough? Or is that not kawaii enough? What am I looking for here? Strong tone. Where is it? That bottle is practically empty. I need to go find some more. Or is that some? Nope, that's dark tone. Sweet. Let's go look for some. It's gonna be outside the room, isn't it? I'm gonna have to go out there. Yeah, looks like. Okay, I'm keeping my headset on and I'm walking out of the room, so if it loses signal, it's not my fault. I'm still streaming, by the way. I'm actually outside the room talking to people. I'm outside the room talking to people. You can say hello if you want.
Oh, hello everybody. Can't see the screen, can't see what you're saying.
Yep. I'm trying to find a wash, so all they can see is like a blank screen and like me chatting away.
What's the wash you're after?
Got it. This one. This one. No, Sam, Colin, and Justin are out in the hobby hall at the minute, doing something or other. Warren's not currently around, I don't think. Right, I need quick shade wash mixing medium. This stuff. I'm gonna be mixing it with my strong tone wash, and then This is to thin it out, and then to do a bit more than that, we'll add a bit of flow improver to it as well. That's the link to the Hello Kitty dreadnought, so yes, I've seen those. See the tank, that is what counts. You don't need to see my face at all. You know, this whole camera thing here is like completely irrelevant to what's happening. So I have that mixed, and then I'm going to add some flow improver to the slosh that I've made as well. And it should, over the gloss varnish, it should run really easily. Do that on live stream. These people are starting to torture me in here. Well, you know, in the current 40k edition, you could just field nothing but dreadnoughts if you really wanted to. I don't even know why I suggested that, because now I know immediately what she's going to want to do now. Not saying that's a bad thing though, but still. No, I'm not going to do the wheels in it. I'm just going to do the upper hull and the turret. So let's see how this works. Now this should be fairly subtle, but it should also help to tone down the overall vibrancy of the paint job. So I'm saying, Loz, you can do it. Killing with cuteness. No, the Tales of Equestria game wasn't really going to do minis. But there are suppliers out there. Impact Miniatures do do ponies. I have a few steampunk ones lying at home somewhere in a drawer. And it may sound like torturous, but I wouldn't actually mind painting something a little more silly and bright. Occasionally. Very occasionally, to be honest. It's currently a shiny tank because I have a gloss varnish over it to let the wash flow more easily into it, and then once all that's done, we'll matte coat it down again. At the minute, this is just to get shading and stuff put on. No, not pin washing, just an overall thing. The gloss varnish is going to help it pull in areas that I want it to. If I was pin washing, I'd be at this with an incredibly small brush and it would take an incredibly long time, unfortunately. But this, once it's dry, should make it look like there's a bit of natural dust build-up in some of the creases and nooks and crannies on the vehicle. Right, let's leave that over to one side for a minute. Let's get the back hull. I probably should have painted in the lights and stuff as well first, but they're not my biggest concern. Yeah, I'll have to have a look at him, Steve. Is Eurovision on? Not that I care. Wonder if Ireland's taking part in it. Or if they're too busy trying to sort our problems out. I know I said I'd leave the lower hull alone, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. Oh, my Streamlabs is telling me I've got 60 viewers today. That's friggin' awesome. I think that's the highest I've had yet. It's probably mostly on Twitch as well, which is really cool. Okay, turret. I'll be able to show you once I have the turret washed, particularly for you, Steve, what the gloss varnish is doing with it. I do really enjoy doing these streams. I think for me, these are just a lot of fun. I'm not too concerned about how many people watch me. I just enjoy doing it. cell. Yep. And advertisers thought that a three-letter word sells better. Clearly, tanks are the best. Okay. Right, let's put the turret on. Let's put the upper and lower hull back together. Okay. So, if I can get this to a place where you can see it, you see what the wash and the gloss varnish are doing together? Like on the ridges on the stowage bins and stuff, they're gathering around there quite nicely. And because it's so heavily thinned, the areas where it's glooping up the most because of the gloss varnish is where it's getting the heaviest aspect of the wash. And that is giving us a really nice subtle shade and sort of dirt build-up effect on it. And that's a very simple way of doing it, is mixing your quick shades or your washes with a little bit of flow improver for airbrush flow improving, and what I'm also using, which is a mixing medium, which is basically the same stuff as a wash but without any colouring in it, and that thins it all down. And when you start applying that in little coats, you get, over a gloss varnish anyway, you get this nicely defined shaded areas on top of the pre-shade, which is still very visible, as particularly on the front of the turret there, and you get a nicely defined model at the end of it. So I'm going to have to leave this to dry, but it also means that I'm out of time. We have a couple other things to do. I still have some content to wrap up this week. So a couple of announcements before I wrap up. I won't be streaming next week. I'm actually off all of next week. I'm currently working on some content, maybe one, there possibly one video will be going out next week, possibly a vlog of some of my stuff. But there won't be any live streams with me. Now maybe Lance will be dragging Justin or someone else in on Hobby Hangout. We'll see how that works out. Windows just tried to warn me about something and practically deafened me. So most of next week I'm going to be at a motorbike race, selling programs, and when I'm not doing that, I'm going to be working on my power armor. So I will actually have a good few solid days to work on it. I might actually even make some progress. Speaking of progress, if anyone hasn't, I've only shown Amanda this, but my resin casting from the start of the week, I remade my mold. I made it simpler. I took the form and basically coated it in tons and tons and tons of that would be hilarious, Steve. Tons of filler primer and stuff to smooth it all off and simplify it. I then recast the form, so I have a new RTV rubber mold, and this is the result that I got from it. So this is the helmet lens for my T60 power armor. This is my 4th attempt, and this is looking pretty sweet. I'll show you the previous 3 attempts in order of how they went. I can't show you the mold, unfortunately, because it's currently got another pour of resin in it, now that we have it sorted and there's not as many bubbles in it anymore. So attempt number 1 was this. Tons of bubbles, just really nasty looking. So I then thought maybe it's something to do with no mold release being used, it gathering up some bubbles. So then I took a second attempt, which, a few less bubbles, but you're starting to figure out where they were. So they were in the creases of my texture, and I was like, there's something wrong there, but we'll try a different way of pouring it. And it made it worse. It made it far, far worse. So those 3 attempts got thrown out. That was the mold I was using originally, and it had a lot of undercuts and stuff in it. See, I've called it V1 bad, and it was just not very nice. So I had to then, I'll bring the form over. So the original form was just the bare materials, if you see on my my resin casting vlog. I then took the original form and gave it all these layers of paint and filler and filed it down a lot more and smoothed it down a lot more. So this is the new form, which then gave me that. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm making the second one now for the other suit. it's it's been a long haul. It's been a real good learning curve. Amanda gave me some fantastic feedback on it, and a load of the guys in the comments on that vlog did as well. Anywho, thank you very much for hanging out with me for the last 2 hours. It's been great as always. I am going to move on, wrap up some content hopefully for next week, and I won't see you next week, but I'll see you the week after that. So take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and have a great next week. See you later.